Joe, you remember these days?
We good, man. It don't matter.
Oh, yes.
Bob sit over here.
Bob was just.
Oh, I know.
He used to record the meetings. He'd hold this up.
Yeah.
We would do like this.
Talking the
And
mic.
with this, where
Talking
did
the mic.
that come from?
I don't know, it's sitting right here.
He's still at the water
There it is.
district. Talking the mic.
Is he?
Yeah.
How do they do?
Yeah, it don't matter.
One and one?
Our birthday on Saturday. So
1 and 1? You guys did 1 and 1? 1 in July, 1 August?
I would prefer the first one in June, because it's my birthday, and I don't have to be here on my
So,
birthday.
second one in July, and then
And then the
first
first
one
one
in
in
August?
August,
With the people going back to school and everything.
Oh, yeah,
Everything about that.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you gonna go back to
Have we heard from our
You
babies?
good?
Yeah, I think my birthday's the last one, but that's okay.
that's
I don't usually go
You
anywhere.
guys wanna celebrate that though?
Usually not. So,
Yeah, the
Let me see.
24th of July, right?
that's it.
So we'll have
Yes.
a meeting on Tuesday and then celebration.
oh, yeah, we have the
There we
meeting.
go.
and
Yeah, that's
then-
fine.
Now he wants to, look at, I don't wanna do it.
Yeah.
See, I mean, honestly speaking, in July, it's because it's this Fourth of July weekend, that's when we're preparing the day, we're not even gonna be here that day. So
Yes.
that means
No,
we'll have
the
to-
second one is fine.
So 1 in July, 1 in August.
So the
Depending
second
on.
one in July and first
Right.
one
First
in
one in
August,
August?
Let's do this.
cause I needed to, please let Brianna, she's got that Tuesday, resolution to work on, that we do every week. So she needs to have an idea then.
Call order.
Councilmember Scott,
Here.
Councilmember Wright, Councilmember Hess,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Clayton, Mayor Duncan,
Here.
all present.
Closed session. A closed session in the city council may be held in accordance with state law, which may include, but is not limited to, the following types of items: personal matters, labor negotiations, security matters, providing instructions to real property negotiators, in conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation. The closed session will be held at City Hall Conference Room located at 6136 W Road, 29 Palms, California. Any public comment on closed session items will be taken before the closed session. Any required announcements or discussion of closed session items or actions following the closed session will be made in the City Council Chamber, 6136 W Road, 29 Palms, California. Public, any questions, comments and concerns? And we have none. We will now get off the,
Adjourn to-
adjourn to the
How you doing?
council chambers at 6136
Conference.
Conference.
Larry, you doing the Shady Elm first? Which one you doing?
We will. We'll do you wanna be first or last?
Well, no, you gotta do it first. That way I can just come out here.
Oh, yeah.
No, I have to like wait till you get down.
The other one.
The other ones would wait, so I can.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was it like?
I couldn't remember either.
Everybody?
Hi.
Hey,
How was your first day at work?
first day.
Oh, you were last week, that's right.
Yeah,
That was
I'm on
fun.
week 2 now. I'm killing it. They got me on housing project.
Ooh,
That's fine. Having fun actually.
good.
thought I was gonna be late. Yeah, so I figured since we just did that, I figured I'd go ahead and share on that.
Makes sense.
Call to order. Mr. Vino, would you lead us in the pledge? If you wish to remain standing, invocation by Reverend Don Thursby, Little Church of the Desert.
Let us pray. Lord our God, when we gather at times like this, it's always a mixture of the significant and the mundane, great accomplishments, announcements, celebrations, but also dealing with the daily stuff that sometimes is a challenge, especially when it comes to something as mundane as sewage. So we ask that as we gather tonight, that as our council deliberates, that they will not get mired in the muck, but that they will be able to find a good sense of direction as in the course of respectful and helpful conversation with the community, we find solutions that will be to the benefit of all of the residents of 29 Palms. We ask in Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Wright,
Here.
Councilmember Scott,
Here.
Councilmember Mintz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink,
Here.
Mayor Bildering.
Here.
All present.
Closed session announcements. Nothing major to report, just information received for legal advice that we take in consideration. Changes to agenda. None. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website, www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to the city website and clicking Meeting Agendas link. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Bear with me. Make sure I'm in order. All right. City of 29 Palms Proclamation, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas in the United States, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. SAM, and the goal of SAM is to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educate communities on how to prevent it, calling attention to the fact that sexual harassment, assault, and abuse are widespread and impact every person in this community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment harm our community, and statistics show 1 in 4 women and 1 in 25 men will be sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. And whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will experience sexual assault before the age of 18. And whereas we recognize all those who work often as volunteers on behalf of rape survivors and their families, we acknowledge that many law enforcement officers, prosecutors, counselors, correction officers, physicians, and healthcare professionals whose dedication and service help sexual assault victims. And now, therefore, to it be resolved, the City Council of the City of 29 Palms does hereby proclaim April 24th to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and recognize that we, the citizens of 29 Palms, have the stake in preventing sexual assault, and will commit to ending the outrage of sexual assaults by building a culture that will never tolerate sexual violence. Dated this 9th day of April, 2024. Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, City of 28 Palms Proclamation. Whereas the tragedy of a child abuse and neglect affects every community in California and touches the lives of far too many citizens regardless of culture, ethnic, religious, or socioeconomic level. And whereas the threat to our children's welfare is demonstrated by steady increase in the number and in the seriousness of reported cases of child abuse and neglect. And whereas if our children are to be productive adults, they should have the right to a childhood free of neglect, physical abuse, sexual molestation, and exploitation. And whereas it is recognized that the primary prevention programs designed to work with children themselves, their parents, and caregivers within the community are successful in preventing first-time abuse situations. And whereas The observance of Child Abuse Prevention Month provides an excellent opportunity for all citizens to reflect on the tragic crime while redirecting themselves and taking an active role in the child abuse prevention activities in their communities. Now, therefore, to be resolved that the City Council of the City of 29 Palms do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month in the City of 29 Palms, and encourages all residents to join with local community efforts in making sure that every child has the right to grow up in a stable, loving environment free from abuse and neglect. Dated this 9th day of April 2024. DMV Donate Life Month, City of 28 Palms Proclamation. Whereas organ, eyes, tissue, bone marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts recognizing worldwide as expression of compassion to those in need. Whereas more than 108,000 individuals nationwide and more than 21,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant List, and an average of 17 people die each day while waiting. Whereas a single individual's donation of a heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestines can save up to 8 lives. Whereas donation of tissues can save and heal the lives of more than 75 others. Whereas any person can register to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor regardless of age and medical condition. Whereas California residents can sign up to be an organ, eye, tissue donor while applying or renewing their driver's license or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. Whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California donor registration online at any time by visiting www.donatelifecalifornia.org, or for Spanish speakers, www.donvitacalifornia.org. And whereas California residents interested in saving a life through living kidney donation may visit www.livingdonationcalifornia.org. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of 29 Palms does hereby proclaim April 2024 to be the DMV Donate Life Month, and encourages all residents to click yes online or when applying for a renewing of their driver's license or ID card at the DMV, dated this 9th day of April 2024. Y'all still awake? All right. Number 4. Environmental Climate Justice Community Change Grant Prevention by Women of Color Global.
Good evening to the mayor and city council. My name is Carrie Williams. I am the CEO of Women of Color Global, a nonprofit organization out here in 29 Palms. I've been operating since 2019. And tonight, we're going to speak about an environmental and climate justice community grant that we're going to be speaking about, and I'm going to have Nancy Black explain it to you.
Thank you, City Council, for allowing us to present this significant grant opportunity to you this evening. First of all, I hope that you received the large document in your emails this weekend and might have had an opportunity to read it. We do have an ask this evening. The Women of Color Global is asking to partner with the City of 29 Palms in submitting this grant application. The grant is for $10 million for the EPA, and it is a grant with no cost-sharing criteria. The EPA is offering this also offering no-cost technical assistance for designing all facets of this grant application. We received our eligibility just last Friday, and that to us is very exciting because they recognize the importance of this grant to this city. Why? Because this grant specifically targets the disadvantaged citizens while addressing climate change and the actions that we need to take as a community. So I'm asking that we please join in this submission of this grant application. So who are the leaders? I'm not doing a good job of clicking, am I? Who are the leaders? You met Carrie of Women of Color Global, myself, also Cara Black, who plans to be the community garden manager, and Karen, who is a sister of Carrie. We are all coming together to present this grant application to you. We hope that you will be leaders with us, the City of 29, in putting this application together. We also have collaborators with the San Bernardino County Master Gardeners, the group down in the Coachella Valley called Desert Compost. We're hopefully working with the Copper Mountain College to do some workforce training there. We have the Joshua Tree National Park Foundation as a collaborator, and the 29 Farmers Market produce farmers, working with Roger Thomas with that group there. The EPA's technical assistance team is already planning a visit to the city in order to do a site observation, if you are in agreement, and start helping us to put the grant technical parts of this application together. So what is the vision? We tried to listen to a lot of community folks, things that they said they needed, things that they said they wanted. Understand this is a very flexible presentation at this point. Things can come, things can be added, things can be subtracted, but ultimately we want to come together with a very robust application to the EPA. Our first one, and this is just the overview, is 2 electric mobile climate emergency resiliency centers. The second is a central 29 Palms Climate Emergency Resiliency Center, powered by solar, of course. The third is a new technology, climate-resistant community garden in the disadvantaged area. And last, a mobile food pantry to reach the disadvantaged. So let's delve into this thing. The first are the 2 mobile climate emergency resiliency centers. Understand that this grant has to have a lot that addresses climate action, climate emergency, but most often and most importantly, it must address the disadvantaged equally. Hello.
The computer's restarting.
I'll keep going. So if you can imagine, and if you have been to an airport and you get on the shuttle bus and you take your shuttle bus over to the car rental area, those large shuttle buses that seat 25 people. So these would be 2 solar-charged, electric-powered, 25-foot passenger shuttle buses. They would have seats for 25 residents, windows on all sides, be air-conditioned and heated, have an area for stored shelf-stable food and water, and movable to underserved areas for emergency resiliency. And you say, why? Well, because there's areas in our community where people have distress during extreme climate situations, wind, heat, very high heat, where the electricity might go out and they're without electric for many hours. Or maybe in the cold, or it's extreme, they have no electricity for several hours. Maybe there's a flood, maybe there's a mudslide, and of course the ever-fearing earthquake. The intention is for these resiliency center mobile vehicles to go out to those communities, allow folks to get on that vehicle and have some peace of mind for a while. Be able to sit in a climate-controlled environment, have a little bit of food and water, kind of get their act back together again while we try to address all the issues that are involved with this climate emergency. We're getting there. The next slide is a picture of what that bus might look like. Again, all of this is changeable as we move through the actual application itself. Furthermore, it will be solar charged. So at the parking site will be obviously solar on the roof with a battery backup so that we're not using electricity. Some water and shelf-stable foods will be provided by a combination of the grant funding and donations from area food manufacturers. So disadvantaged citizens will be able to access the center by foot because it will be close to them. They have 24/7 access during the emergency event. The shuttle will have a restroom in it. And when it's not doing extreme climate resiliency help, the shuttle will provide weekly trips to the Joshua Tree National Park for nature walks, and we'll review that later on. The shuttle will also be used during non-emergency as a mobile food pantry to reach some of the disadvantaged citizens who might not be able to reach the weekly food pantries or their groceries. At this point, I can say that most parts of this application are intertwined. So if I mention one part, you're going to hear it again in another part, and how they interact to help the citizens of 29. Central to this climate emergency is the resiliency center that we're suggesting go on the city-owned vacant lot at Freedom Plaza and Tumbleweed, which is just north of Cactus. That would be a one-story building with downtown Western architecture, probably to match the Freedom Plaza building that's already there. So if you envision, it would be a large room with HVAC for the disadvantaged citizens to escape these extreme weather events, and we're anticipating these citizens would be able to walk there. The kitchen with a refrigeration for some drinks and storage for shelf-stable foods. Obviously solar power, the battery backup. A garage space for the 2 shuttles. And then on one side would be meeting and classroom space, because we need to include in the grant. We have to have healthy food and nutrition classes, emergency resiliency classes, what do you do in an emergency, and so that we can educate the disadvantaged on economical ways to stay safe, prepare healthy foods, and also new ways to reduce pollution, all intertwined in this application. A large room will have floor-to-ceiling glazed windows to face that beautiful national park that is in the view. The outside will be surrounded by a tree-lined trail. Those tree lines are, of course, native trees and cactus. This is a trail to offer people a walking trail for better health opportunities. It is not an area for people to just sit and stay overnight. Here's a picture of a building downtown that we chose just to show you that it would have the Adobe style, the Western look, and be one story. This grant has 5 requirements and about 10 strategies that we're attacking. And that's why it's so interesting to the EPA, because we didn't just choose one thing and say, please give us money for this one thing. We're asking for a lot to make a significant difference in the community. So one of the requirements, of course, is pollution reduction. Again, we're intertwining some things. We're going to take our mission to reduce mobile source carbon emissions by diverting food waste to create compost for a new technology, climate-resistant community greenhouse garden. Why? Because you're being asked to do compost in the city. All citizens will be asked. Restaurants will be asked. Even the farmers market will be asked. We're going to divert some of that compost, specifically that coming out of the farmers market, and use that for our base, obviously, for this garden. This will significantly reduce emissions of the trucks going down to past Indio, which is a 140-mile round trip, where they have some emissions coming out of the backs of those trucks. Let's move on to the garden. This climate-resistant community garden is using new technology. It is fenced land at the beginning of the planned Adobe Art Walk, so it is on the land adjacent to Janine's Beauty Supply. It is owned by Women of Color Global, and the community members will come in and be assigned a free raised garden bed, and they'll get donated seeds. There will be a garden manager on site. Produce will be free to the participants, and there will be a covered patio, hopefully with local sculptures, and this is part of the community involvement that the application also requires. The next picture would be, understand this is outside. Our garden would be inside and climate controlled. This would be the centerpiece so that it's available to those who are disabled, and it has a drip water system from the top down to the bottom. This is actually the Anasazi way of doing gardens. So we're taking old technology, ancient method of farming, and upgrading it by using technology. Next, because it's indoors, we're going to use solar-powered indoor lights so that we can have year-round plantings. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's an extremely effective way to garden, especially in the desert. So how are we going to do this? We're going to divert compostable produce from, and this is a change, we're going to divert it from the farmer's market. We spoke with Roger over the weekend. 2 of us did, and he and his produce farmers are very excited about moving the compost from their end of sale day to a garden here in the city. We're going to transport the compost directly to the farm, use it immediately for soil nourishment, Any of you that know about compost, you have to layer it with cardboard and start the nourishment. There should be no smell emitted because we're going to be putting it in enclosed tumblers that make immediate compost, so there won't be storage of compost going on at the facility. The raised bed system is watered through a low water drip system. Again, ecologically, we have to do that kind of thing for this application. Energy, of course, is solar. The lights provide year-round growing. The lights are solar powered. And all of this new technology, many of which is run by computers, will provide workforce training for either college students or high school students. Workforce development is one of the requirements in this application. We did the leaders. The budget. I have a very extensive budget, which hopefully, once we go to a positive affirmation of moving forward on this application, we can delve into much deeper. Plus, after the Community Grants Technology team arrives, I'm sure there'll be lots of changes to the budget, so I didn't present that this evening. I'm going to give you an outline, however. Obviously, the 2 customized mobile emergency vans, the labor involved, the insurance, the taxes, the Central Emergency Resilience Center, the land development and all the build-out, the new technology community garden, the land clearing, the build-out, the equipment, the permits, the taxes, all that goes with that, the garden walkways around the Central Resilience Center, the plants and the trees and the landscaping company, adding the mobile food pantry to the vans on those non-emergency days, the labor and insurance and all that goes with that. We have to put out RFPs for anything we buy, and of course, staff and benefits. So the next steps, folks, is that we are seeking an affirmative interest in supporting Women of Color Global in submitting this application, putting together a work group so that we can get this application refined and work with the Community Grants technical team when they come into town to really make this the robust application that it needs to be. There are applications open until November, but applications are approved on an ongoing basis, and money can run out. Are there any questions?
I want to thank Nancy and Miss Carey, Women of Color Global. Over the past couple of months, I've had the opportunity to work with them on these ideas, and they've done a really good job of putting this together. Myself and Councilmember MacArthur Wright have met extensively, and this is something that definitely the city needs, and this is the right track. And I really want to thank you again for your work and just putting this together. And I hope that my colleagues in the dais will support us in this endeavor.
We're good? Thank you.
We're good. All right. Council comments and reports of meetings attended. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended a committee meeting, a community meeting on supporting our unsheltered residents. I also attended Easter Sunday with the Oasis Community Church, and was able to have lunch with them and speak with a lot of the members of that church. And so that's it. I had a great week.
Councilman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I did have a Basin Transit meeting, and we went over the budget and what it's going to be. It's a balanced budget. Sherry's doing a great job out there working with everything and going through everything. So it was a good meeting. Also, I attended the Easter egg hunt at Set Free Saturday, and then I did do Good Friday service at Little Church of the Desert, and I went to and participated in the sunrise service the Ministerial Association did at Freedom Plaza on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. It was a little nifty, but I had my suit on, so I was good. And then also did Easter Sunday at the Gospel Fellowship. So it was a good time.
Councilman Mintz?
Thank you. Just basically had a committee meeting here at City Hall for the events committee, and also helped out the Sky's the Limit. And when the people come in, we ask them where they're from, and there's a lot of in-town folks going there, a lot of out-of-state, out-of-town folks, out-of-state, and even out-of-country. They're still continuing to come up there on a monthly basis up to the Sky's the Limit, look at our night sky. So that observatory is doing very well for tourism in Twentynine Palms. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink?
Thank you, Mayor. I was also up there with Danny parking cars and talking to people, very interesting people up there, and they all, at the end, they were all coming out saying, we loved it, great Sky's the Limit program, and they said, we'll be back. Went to the SBCTA meeting in San Bernardino. The discussion, of course, it was closed session, was the director and the city attorney's salary, so I can't discuss that. And also, I'd like to wish everybody here in Twentynine Palms who is celebrating a birthday this April a very happy birthday. And have a good week, rest of the month.
Thank you. I had the privilege to recognize with the base and other agencies the Marine and NCO of the quarter on, well, actually we did at CMC, a luncheon. Very different. I'm glad they are honoring and recognizing the Marine and NCO of the quarters. When we were there, I was talking about when I was NCO of the quarter, we got like a red binder, a handshake, and got hazed because they thought we were just the brown nosers. So good that they're honoring them and showing a recognition of all the good things they are doing for the Marine Corps and the community. Also had a meeting with the new Southern Cal Edison Government Relations Manager. Got to know each other. We had some questions, some RFIs that we're going to work on. Had the honor of throwing the first pitch out for Little League opening ceremonies, and it was a strike. It was right on her hand, so I'm proud of that. I was to throw it away. And, I went over because I don't know where the ball would go in underhand. Then the Easter egg hunt by the fire department. I showed up. I was hidden because I don't want all the questions. So I had my hat low, and I got to see all the kids running after eggs. So it was the fire department. It was mad chaos, but it was controlled. So it looks like the kids are having fun. And that is all I got. Anyone else? Nope. We're good? All right. Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the City Council. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on the consent calendar items prior to the City Council's actions. Anyone up here? Nope. Public? Nope. Back up here. Motion.
I move this consent calendar.
Second.
Who seconded? Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink,
Aye.
Mayor Bilduray.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Nothing removed. Public hearing, none. Discussion and potential action items. Number 11, Project Phoenix Treatment System Improvements, continuation from March 26, 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I have to excuse myself. My wife she doesn't own. She owns the beauty parlor there. She doesn't own the building, but she owns a business in Project Phoenix area, so I have to excuse myself.
Yes, sir. We'll pause right now. Kurt Kepler, you want to speak on anything on the consent calendar?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
I guess I have a kind of a question about item number 7. It kind of seems to me that item 7 and item 8, 7 being the selection of Terra Nova or the sort of approval of the contract. I just have a question. What was the selection process? Were they selected? Because item 8 is about having a list of potential companies to do environmental mitigation. And so I guess number 7, I just want to know what the selection process, whether they were selected and contracted by the city or by the developer.
On number 7, the in that particular instance, the CEQA company is already under contract with us.
We're talking
number
about
8 is for us to expand the list for future projects.
Okay, so but who is Terra Nova contracted by you, by the
us.
city?
Yes.
And were they selected from a list of? Did you guys send out an RFQ for that?
But that's what number 8 is going to be. We're going to be expanding the list of those who can.
Okay, so they were just where do that name come from? Where did that company come from?
They have historically done a lot of work for the city.
Okay, so you have a historical relationship with them.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I just wanted that cleared up for myself. Thanks.
No worries. Thank you. Back to number 11.
All right, tonight we have,
Turn it. We're here to adopt the design and the project presented by the plans and specifications for the Project Phoenix Treatment System Improvements. Award the contract for the Project Phoenix Treatment System Improvements to 316 Engineering and Construction in the amount of $1,999,934 and authorize a 10% contingency in the amount of $199,993 for a total contract amount of $2,199,927. Authorize the interim city manager to execute all documents necessary to enter into the contract, including any necessary amendments thereto. The staff we had a question the last time that I'd like to address right away. It's about the mitigated negative declaration. And I reached out to the Terra Nova, actually, as a matter of fact. And the mitigated negative declaration for the entire Project Phoenix projects included analysis of the treatment plant in 2019 under CEQA, unless substantial changes are made to a project or conditions change substantially, the analysis is and its conclusions remain valid. In this case, neither the project nor conditions in the downtown area have changed since the analysis was completed, and the conclusions, mitigation measures, and requirements are still effective to mitigate the impacts of the plant to less than significant levels. So what we're here for tonight is to address the awarding of this contract to 316 Engineering, the low bidder, for the second time. They have extended their contract until the end of April this month. If we do not sign this contract at this time, we send it out to bid. If you reject this and want to have a rebid, there could be a difficult situation for us to do it in a timely manner to, one, get the grant from the EDA, and number 2, the State Water Resources Board. This has all been approved with this treatment plant to be there. We could run into problems if we do not approve to have this constructed with the Water Resources Board, with the people that are on the treatment that we have there now. This has all been set up in the past. It's all been decided on. What we're here for tonight is to decide if we're going to award this contract to 316. That's what's happening before us tonight.
Questions, council? Nope. All right. Out to the public. Is this on 11? Miss Elaine Leslie? Eileen, I even saw it and read it wrong.
Evening, council. I think now how many different ways that we put it on the agenda, I still did bring up a valid issue. So whether we talk about Well, actually, I'm surprised. I thought we were going to discuss the other issues which came up in discussing whether to continue with the project. So whether we award it by April 30th or not, I still brought up, and I thought it would have been discussed tonight, whether or not we should be going ahead with the project, regardless of what the EDA or the future ramifications may be for the State Water Resources Board. You know, when you talk about the treatment for the people are the 18 businesses downtown. I own 2 of those businesses on 2 properties that I own. I also had a meaningful conversation with Michael Usher of Ground Squirrel, and we have some very, very serious concerns about how this will negatively impact the downtown area and our businesses. We're concerned about health ramification, smells. There are already very bad odors coming from the new septic system that haven't been addressed. I can't open my patio until that's even addressed, and I'll be bringing that up soon on an agenda item because I don't know who to take it to. So I'm really concerned because the actual cost versus the grant, we have not talked about the maintenance. Where is that falling? We can't just hang that on the possibility of the Hilton building and hooking up into our treatment plant. We did not put into the contract that there was a condition after the fact that they had to build their property out. They could sell it tomorrow. They can build their own treatment plant and sell it the next day. We cannot count on any fees. And I'm asking you, where are we going to be subsidizing the maintenance, the yearly maintenance, and the operational costs on this? We just don't have the money. And you'll be looking to the general fund. That'll be taxing everyone in the community. And to be honest with you, I don't think that's fair. All of our businesses are working just fine on the septic system. We're not depending or looking forward to having a sewer system, especially in light of all the conversations and the information that we learned when we talked about the entire citywide project. There were a lot of things that came up that never had been talked about in the city when we discussed this treatment plant. So I think this is just really moving along, and where we have some commitments. I think this is moving into an area where we're going to incur costs that we just don't want to subsidize. The city doesn't. I'm sure the taxpayers don't. And I'm guaranteeing my 2 businesses, and I'll speak for Michael Usher, I'm certain he doesn't want to pick up the extra cost. And so that's 8 out of the businesses, 4 out of 18 businesses down there. So I really think we somehow need to address whether or not we should be moving forward with this treatment plant. And awarding the contract or not is moot at this point. Award it. But we need to address this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want to
Can we
answer?
address some of this?
Yes.
All right, there will be a wastewater study. There was a wastewater study done in 2019. I think that at this time, the hookups are paying $45 a month. Am I correct with that? Right. Okay. We would until the end of fiscal year 24-25, which would be June 31st. The wastewater study is good. We would have to engage in a new rate study. I've researched, I've reached out, I've asked people. Richard, the engineer, is here also. The treatment plant, is the treatment plant a far more need more management? Does it need a lot more maintenance? Is it going to be a double the price? And I talked to Wildan, who did the last rate study. I've talked to the Water Resources Board. They will tell us what our EDUs are, how much water we can take, how much we can put back in. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a very high, significant difference. The city has subsidized it for approximately $40,000 a year. We are committed to do that through the 25-year as part of the agreement that you made. I'm sure that the hotel is definitely a large part of the income that would be generated by that. And but it's not going to. what you need is the effluent, the water. You need the stuff that generates so that the treatment plant will work for the size that it is. So in talking with the Water Resources Board, this is something they threw out to me, which since I just heard something else, I'm going to let you know. They say if they go ahead and require us to do this and we've lost our grant, then we would be responsible for putting in the package treatment plant. And as was stated, that would come right out of the general fund. Because the Water Resources Board has approved this whole downtown project with what's there now, with the septic system that we have put in as just a thing to hold us over until we did that. We were supposed to have this done a few years ago. That's correct, Richard? Our engineer is here.
Yeah, yes, that is correct. We have the agreement to put in the final treatment plant right now, and if we don't do it, we'll lose the funds. And if the system that we have that's temporary, if it fails, the state will come after the city, and without the $2 million, we're going to have to come up with that on our own.
We are going to have to put a treatment plant in. That's exactly what I heard from the Water Resources Board. And this is the situation we're in. Whether we created it a long time ago, whether COVID slowed down the construction of the hotel, whether the interest rates now are 5 times as much as they were a year ago. There's a lot of things that are happening right now. We've talked with the Greens. They still plan to put it in. Money isn't good right now, and you need money to build things, not making an excuse. This is a reality thing. So is there another question or something you'd like to ask?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. You made a very good point there. I mean, this seems like to be a different situation than the city-wide sewer system. And, you know, basically, if we don't do this, we will be mandated by the state. And that $2 million is actually going to come out of our reserves, right? I mean, where else will we get or we're going to have to raise taxes, put a ballot initiative to be able to get that done. And I don't want to burden our community in that way. But that's very important information. Thank you.
You done?
Good.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Vino? Let me, I'm about, this is only one more. David Baker, are you for this too? Or is this?
It's a private matter.
Yeah, it doesn't all 11. So yours is more public comments? Okay. No, it has nothing on there. I'll save it for public. All right. You're the last one. Yeah. Or you're the only one for this topic.
Mayor, in fact, I'll need some of my sheets back because the city clerk charged me $50 a page to make copies. So please give it back to me. Well, I had to pay 3 years. That was a lot of money. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, council members. I have read the PSA, the purchase and sale agreement between Greens Development and the city of 29 Palms. And I have a couple of questions. Our city paid a realtor a leasing commission. Did this realtor have a mandate to locate a leasing potential buyer? It's here in the closing statement. Does anyone know if there's a connection between Green Real Estate Group that had received a commission and the developer, Greens Development, Inc.? Our PSA does not obligate the city to build and install a sewer treatment plant for the benefit of the hotel to this thing connect. Page 17 of the study which I handed out says the Phoenix project currently operates with a communal septic system. Because this community center does not generate sufficient effluent to require the sewage treatment plant with the construction of the proposed project. However, the 95 rooms hotel will require a treatment plant. Can anybody answer that distinct question for me? There's those distinct two questions about the commission that we paid to the realtor, whether he was mandated by the city to find a buyer.
I know the money went to Bob Armstrong. He was the person that was the escrow person. We paid it to the Greens, they paid it to him. That's what I read in the staff reports. I have no actual knowledge of it, but that's what I read.
By law, we can't pay a realtor a distinct broker commission. We can pay to a broker. Thanks. Page 17 of the study shows them clearly that we do not, that we'll only need a sewer treatment plant once the distinct hotel is built. If that's the case, why are we burdening the small businesses and the Freedom Plaza taxpayers to subsidize the hotel maintenance costs? We've sold the land to the developer at a very decent price. The developer should put their own sewer treatment plant on the site at their cost, just like many other developers did. If you want to help this developer, why not just give him the funds to build the plant on his site? There are many questions that need to be answered from this PSA, Purchase and Sale Agreement. I would suggest to the city that we should investigate this file before doing this billion-dollar company a favor on the backs of small business people. A very good friend and a mentor once told me, if you give enough small people what they want, you will always get what you want. Give our small businesses success, please. I would suggest that you investigate this PSA before you make a decision.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Any more before I close to the public? All right, back up here.
All right. That long motion, can you read it again?
Adopt the design of the project presented by the plans and specifications for the Project Phoenix Treatment System improvements. Award a contract for the Project Phoenix Treatment System improvements to 316 Engineering and Construction Incorporated in the amount of $199,934 and authorize a 10% contingency in the amount of $199,993 for a total contract amount of $2,199,927,000. Authorize the interim city manager to execute all documents necessary to enter into the contract, including any necessary amendments thereto.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink,
Aye.
Mayor Bilderine.
All right.
Approved 401.
Future council initiated items. You can, are you gonna add that? Okay. Go ahead.
Oh. Okay, we wanna add just where is it at? Environmental grant back to the agenda, but for a vote if the city wants to partner.
You would like to bring it back on the next agenda in April?
Yes.
Got it.
I second that.
Good. All right. Good. Public comments. This is a time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that are not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to the city council and should not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. There's a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you've not already done so, please fill out the name, address slips, and give them to the city clerk. The city council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on the agenda. All right. David Baker.
Well, I just came back to the city after about a year and a half out in Oregon, and of course that means residents that have to establish water again, all that good stuff. And the previous co-tenants at the property had already been fighting a lot of different items about getting the water turned back on at their home. I'm just kind of a temporary co-tenant, but I ended up taking over making sure they had water. And so basically I'm carting water from the station to the residents on a regular basis, almost every other day. And the reason that there's a stopping block is they had previous tenants that violated the structure of the water system by tampering with the meter or whatever. I don't know all the details about who they were or what the deal was, but that seems to me like it should be between Water District and the landlord. The co-tenants shouldn't be required to deal with those kind of previous issues. The people that are in the residence now are of decent, nature and character, and they're just trying to get by. And I'm one of those too. But at least I have my own place with running water and stuff. So now they're saying that unless we pay those fees from the previous tenants, they're not going to turn the water on. To me, that sounds like they're holding the water hostage, and it violates the rights to water. It's not reasonable. It's $45 per incident, 3 incidents. That's an additional $135 that tenants just don't have. They were prepared to turn the water on, the regular fees, the regular rates, everything that they had quoted just the day before, and it wasn't until the supervisor or the operations director got involved that they added those other fees in. So basically what I'm asking for today is just maybe some intervention. It's kind of crazy. It's what it is. It's not constitutional. It's denial of water rights to the tenants that live there. And what happened before and whatever the owner of the property has to deal with should not actually be put on, I don't think, the newer tenants, especially the decent character of the residents that are there now. So that's basically what I'm asking, just if we could intervene and just get those other fees off there so they can get their water turned on, and we'll deal with whatever the landlord has to deal with to get the previous tenant penalties taken care of. Because it shouldn't be on us, the new tenants. That's all.
If I could get your name and the address, you got it already? All right, I'll call the Water District tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mark A. Ooh, I don't want to. Yes.
Smith, that's how I say it.
All right, yes. I can roll with that.
Oh, my glasses. Okay, thank you, City Council. I'd like to bring up something. All right, I'm going to go by my notes first before I mess this up, all right? So, good evening. My name is Mark Klebda. I have been a resident of Indian Cove for about 8 years, and I would like to share my opinion, and I can safely say I'm speaking for some of my neighbors as well, regarding the potential development of some land that borders Indian Cove, say between Indian Cove and the Sherman Road area. of land is a company that is trying to purchase the land there. I believe it's in escrow. I don't know how far they've gone. But they've had 2 community meetings regarding their intentions for this land. And I was unable to attend the November meeting, but I did go to the Elks Lodge for the February 28th meeting, and I really did not know much about this whole deal. So my intention was to go and listen. It didn't quite turn out that way, so before speaking up again, I've done a bit of homework regarding questions and concerns from myself and some neighbors. Because ultimately, it would be up to the city council to determine if they could zone it for this tourism thing, correct? Well, I'm just want to throw questions out. Hopefully the city is aware of the fiscal strength of the money behind this of land corporation. Apparently they have a couple other of these resort communities built, one in Utah, one in Tennessee, that they're still working on. But this is right in the middle of our neighborhood, so I question the placement of it. There's so much land out here, and this is we're in one of the last beautiful chunks of the country with a lot of undeveloped land. And to put something this invasive right in the middle of an existing neighborhood. I know 29 Palms is a lot of rentals. There's a lot of fluctuation with people in and out. A lot of the Airbnbs up in my own neighborhood. But for the people that do live here, to all of a sudden, because I believe there's about 300 houses in Indian Cove, and then another 100 or so scattered about a mile or so to the east. They want to put 130 cabins right in the middle of our neighborhood, basically. And so the proportionality is just, in regards to the existing homes, it's just out of scale. They made claims of several hundred or $200 plus being spent in town here by the people that will be staying in these cabins. All right. That is east or west of town. Most people to come out here come through Joshua Tree. They see the entrance to the park. They see all the shops. If they're going to stop there for their little space to be, a lot of people might not even make it into town here. There's a lot of good things going on in town here. And there's so much open land. I would just hope that the city council might persuade these people, do it in an area where it's in proximity to the park, where people got to come through town to go to the park to do this type of thing.
Yes, sir. Your 3 minutes.
I figured that might happen. All right. Well, peace to all. And if I could just say, 130 hotel rooms strewn about on the front porch of a national treasure would be kind of a bummer. That's my opinion. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Stump?
Good evening, Mayor Bilderain and council members. I'm here today as the chair of the PAC, and I'm speaking for your Public Arts Advisory Committee, and I'm hoping that you will take the Twentynine! Sculpture relocation and refurbishment off of your future items list, where it's been languishing for 6 or 8 weeks, and move forward on it. We are your advisory committee, and we have advised you that it is in the wrong place, and we are hoping that you will decide to move it to Freedom Plaza. We have done the, we hired a conservator to look at it. They said, from Palm Springs Art Museum, they said it needs refurbishment. We went in front of the T-bid. They know the value of that sculpture and have committed $5,000 towards the refurbishment of the sculpture. And we have gone to the planning department, and they have agreed that the sculpture needs to be refurbished. So we would like you to move forward with it in respect to the artist, Chuck Kaplinger, who's not getting any younger and is very anxious to have something done about the sculpture. So whether you decide to leave it on Donnell Hill and make it accessible for everybody, including the disabled, which needs to happen, or you take it to Freedom Plaza, which is completely accessible and an amazing place. There was $50,000 in the earmarked for public art for the plaza. It has not been used to the best of, there's no public art in the plaza right now. So we are hoping that you will move forward with this project and make a decision. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Leanne Clark.
Thank you, Mayor Bill Durain and council members. On behalf of the 29 Palms Ministerial Association, we would like to thank the community for its support of our Holy Day services. The March 29th Good Friday Tenebrae service held at Little Church of the Desert raised $400.02, which was given to the Alex Roth Memorial Food Pantry. And also we want to thank the city for its assistance with the March 31st Community Easter Sunrise Service held at Freedom Plaza Stage. We especially want to thank Carrie, Scott, and everyone with the city assisting us with being able to provide that. As Councilmember Wright said, 6 a.m. we needed to start. We raised $553.27, which was again raised from the community attending that service and was presented to Set Free Ranch. We also will be having the 73rd Annual National Day of Prayer. This is held nationwide. Our city, the Ministerial Association, is participating in it again this year. Will be held on Thursday, May 2nd. There will be 3 services, 7 a.m. noon at Veterans Park and 6:30 p.m. at Gospel Fellowship Christian Center Church. There's no cost to attend, and we will be praying for the 7 areas that are determined by the National Day of Prayer Committee. And last, we are currently coordinating the next Mayor's Prayer Breakfast for Tuesday, May 21st, 7 a.m. to 8:30. We'll have more details on that, and that's tentatively scheduled for First Assembly of God Church here in 29 Palms. And we again thank you. We also want to thank interim city council manager Larry Bowden for his service. We understand that we will be having a new city manager, so we just want to thank you for your service to our community and all that you've done for the Ministerial Association and all of the nonprofits here, Larry. We really appreciate all your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leslie?
Good evening again. I just want to address a couple extra things that came up. On the 29 Palm sign, you yourselves have already discussed it and decided that you didn't want to move it. I know the issue about the ADA situation has come up. One way to avoid that and the gazillions of dollars of cost it will to make it compliant, simply put up a no parking zone sign. That will eliminate that whole discussion. Furthermore, I'm really disappointed. I thought being in Freedom Plaza, I was going to see all kinds of new artwork. And I've already made the suggestion that we should be having a large art contest to get new artwork, a new sculpture, something else down in Freedom Plaza, rather than taking away from something that's very well known and enjoyable to many people. And I think a lot more community members would be very upset, some of the pioneers, if we really start talking about moving that. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to put in a request because I don't want to sit on the never agenda pile. I would like the discussion of the treatment plant at Project Phoenix truly discussed in the future. I would like that to be a future agenda item. The price is $45 a month. I don't know why you have that number. The number's over $350, and it's going to go up to an estimation of $600 to $700 per business if you're in the category restaurant bar. That's $1,500 a month to me. That'd be $1,500 probably Michael Usher, and then you double that times, or you multiply it out times 12. That's a substantial amount of money for businesses that are going to be adding to your substantial increase in sales tax. I think that's very important because none of us have to operate a business and have those kind of fees. Moving on, the most important reason I came here tonight, it's come to a lot of community members' attention that there are numerous lawsuits going on in the city, open lawsuits. And that's come to our attention, you're having a lot of behind the scenes meetings, discussing these things. And what it brings to my mind is we should be discussing who is representing us. We've been with the current law firms, I believe, for a very long time. I don't know that that's a good practice. You know, I have my law degree, I don't practice, but in my experience from the law firms that I did work at and the DA's office, in LA DA's office, you have to have movement. We need to get new advice. We need to be checking what retainer fees are. How much are we paying? We need a little transparency on that. I never see that on the budget. More importantly, if they're on retainer and they're keeping open lawsuits rather than settling them when they should be settled, then that's an inflation of their own fees. And from that point of view, not only we need to have transparency about what the current retainer costs are, but we need to know how that works out for us versus them. Because it may be to benefit them a little bit more than us by us not settling things that are obviously things that should be settled. On that note, I just want to add one more thing about the attorney fees. I would beg you, if the solar treatment comes up, whether we look into new law firms and representation or not, we need to hire a niche law firm to handle negotiation of any contract we would do with that solar firm. Someone who has experience is with government contracts as well as private with negotiating contracts. The few millions of dollars we talked about, I think is way below what that worth would be if we even get to that point of approving it. We just need really good legal advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. April Ramirez?
Good afternoon, Council. As some of you may or may not be aware, we made national news last week with the arrest of one of the sheriffs. We pay an exponential amount of money, in the millions, I think, if I'm correct. And I'm wondering if you guys have added any clauses or will be adding any clauses or seeking any type of reparations since we pay them so much. And this is kind of an unfortunate event. So I know that you guys are not legally allowed to comment or take any of that, so I'll be following up in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. I also received an email from Peter, I don't want to say his last name, Bahit Bakhta, and the council has read it all and it'll be on file. What was that? No. No. I know what you're getting at. We already looked into it. It's a no. But I will announce who's sent. We all read it, and it'll be on file. So when you look it up, anyone can come see what was sent in. That was something that COVID made it for everyone to be. We're not in that environment anymore, so I'm not going to get that 3 p.m. email, and then we got to read 700 emails because people are not showing up. That's where we're at with this. Anything else? City manager's update.
At the Walmart in Yucca Valley, we're having emergency planning with people from the Red Cross and a lot of people that'll be there, talking to people about being prepared for an emergency, whatever it is. We've kind of, we're in an earthquake place, but we've kind of identified, we're going to give information on flash flooding because that seems to be something that the newer people that are moving here don't realize that river going across the water is a dangerous place to get into. So that's what we're going to do there on that weekend from 9 to 1. Hilltoppers this last weekend was great. They enjoyed themselves. They were very successful. One person was taken to the hospital just as a cautionary thing. That's pretty good. And the new sign for the national park is up at the Project Phoenix Visitors Center. And also it's spring break, and also it's now recognized on Google and other places as to where it actually is. But they went over 5,000 people this last weekend. And it was 4,000 minimum every weekend in March. So it's a pretty busy place if you go down there on the weekend, not just during the swap or the farmer's market. It's getting a lot of action, so thank you.
that it? Nothing, last minute, good? Meeting adjourned.